Donkey Kong Bananza is an absolutely incredible game, where 99% of all terrain and objects can be destroyed by punching or smashing things into each other. And before the game even released, many people had the question of what would happen if you were to destroy the entire world. Well, today we're going to be answering that question and seeing just how long it would take to destroy an entire level in Donkey Kong Bananza. Real quick, can I just say, as a longtime Donkey Kong fan who grew up on the original trilogy, this game was phenomenal and without a doubt one of the best 3D platformers of all time, and such a great follow-up to Mario Odyssey, seeing as it was made by the same developers. Actually a 10 out of 10 game. Okay, so before we start, we need to figure out the best way to clear out terrain. There's obviously the simpler approach where we could just use DK in his base form to try and punch everything out of existence, but there are many flaws with this method. For starters, with how gigantic some of these levels are, the basic punching mechanic really isn't that strong. Now, yes, it does help you get through thick layers super quickly and effectively, but our goal isn't just to make a bunch of tunnels, we're trying to get rid of everything. What about explosives? Throughout pretty much every level, there are these explosive rocks that you can pick up and throw to take out massive chunks of the land in a short period of time. However, seeing as you can only hold one rock at a time, it'd then be a painfully repetitive journey of picking up the explosive rock, going over to where you need to throw it, and then making the trek back to pick up another chunk over and over again, which honestly just sounds miserable. Okay then, what about the transformations? For those who don't know, one of the big gimmicks for this game is that DK can turn into other animals, which each have their own unique abilities. 3 of them were shown off during the Bananza Direct, but there are 2 more that are unlocked midway through the game, which I'll be showing off in a second, so just a slight spoiler warning. The first one is the Kong transformation, which really isn't that much different from regular DK, besides the fact that he is much stronger and deals a lot more damage to the terrain. Okay, now we might be getting somewhere, but again, despite being stronger, it'd still probably take forever to clear out an entire level just by punching stuff. Then there's the zebra transformation, which is of no use seeing as it just makes you traverse the map faster. Then there's the ostrich, which only really helps with gliding, so not that useful. I mean, you can unlock an ability to drop explosive eggs, but you can't spam it or anything, so punching is definitely more effective than that. And then there's also the 2 transformations that were kept hidden until the game's release, which would be the snake and the elephant. The snake isn't really useful at all in regards to destroying stuff because it's just used to do super high jumps and gain elevation. But the elephant? Oh my god, this thing was made for this challenge. The elephant has an absolutely fantastic ability where you can use its trunk to suck in the terrain, and boy does it do damage. This method of breaking stuff absolutely clears any other approach you could possibly take, seeing as it's so fast and just destroys everything in its path. Alright, now that we know how we're going to be tackling this behemoth of a task, we next need to decide which level and what sublayer we're going to do it on. Seeing as there's actually quite a bit of indestructible objects in the game, such as platforms for NPCs to stand on, assets required to navigate the map, and structures to access sub-areas, I want to find a place that has the most destroyable terrain and the least indestructible objects. Because for some levels, even if I were to clear out the entire land, it probably wouldn't even look that different just because of how the foundation of the levels are shaped. The lagoon layer wouldn't be too impressive seeing as a lot of it revolves around water. Hilltop layer wouldn't be too good because... wait, hold on, no, this is perfect! Wow, I really didn't have to look that hard, did I? The hilltop layer is pretty much the sand kingdom of Donkey Kong Bananza, in the fact that it's incredibly open, has lots of big hills, and the few structures it does have are far and few between. Yep, this is perfect! And even looking at all the future maps in the game, I still think that once I clear out all the land in the hilltop layer, it'd definitely have the biggest wow factor in the before and after shot. Alright, so we have our method of destruction, our location of destruction, but before we finally start, we want to optimize our speed and effectiveness of destruction. For those who don't know, in this game you collect banana gems in the same way that you collect moons in Mario Odyssey. There are hundreds and hundreds of them and they're scattered absolutely everywhere. And after collecting 5 bananas, you gain a skill point which can be used to upgrade DK's abilities. And as you probably guessed, there are plenty of useful things that can be found here to make this process easier, such as the Bananagy upgrade that increases your transformation time, the Drumbeat upgrade that lessens the time it takes to transform, the Better Inhaling upgrade that makes the elephant so much more OP than he already is, and finally the Stronger Lungs upgrade, which increases the time I can use the Inhale ability before he loses stamina. And after collecting a few extra banana gems in a few levels, I was finally able to max out these upgrades, which means we only need one more final optimization setup, and that would be our drip. Now, if you weren't aware, the different costumes in this game provide you with stat buffs, but the only thing that's really useful in this challenge is Pauline's Tempest Coats, where once fully upgraded with fossils, increases the elephant Bananza time by 80% before turning back into regular DK. Okay, I know it took a hot minute to get here, but I think it's finally time to start doing some damage. Place your bets and write in the comments how long you think think it'll take for me to clear out the entire hilltop layer. I'm curious to see if anyone gets it correct. And off we go. It was time to completely destroy this ecosystem for science or something, I don't know. And can I just say, thank you so much Nintendo for giving us this elephant power-up, because I was planning to make this video way before the game released and before I even knew this was one of his abilities, which just thinking about it now would have been 1,000 times worse without, because just look at how quickly this thing destroys land. It's actually so good. I figured out with all my upgraded abilities and Pauline's maxed out outfit, the elephant Bonanza lasts a whopping minute and a half, which is really good. And here's the damage just one transformation causes, which is pretty impressive. But don't let that big chunk fool you, because this map is absolutely massive. I honestly have no clue how long this is gonna take. Thankfully, with how much gold that spawns from the randomly generated chests from destroying stuff, I can instantly turn back into the elephant once it runs out, which is nice. Oh, and how can I forget? Speaking of gold, I cannot wait to see the difference between when I start to when I finish, because the gold spawns so unbelievably frequently that it actually lags the game. The starting number was 47,402.36, and we also have 1,116 of those hexagon coins, whatever they're called. So I'm super excited to see how much those numbers increase by the end. Honestly, despite how daunting of a task this was, it was actually quite therapeutic just clearing everything out in my path. The elephant transformation is just so satisfying to use. I feel like this is probably how Power Wash Simulator players feel, but instead of cleaning stuff, I'm terrorizing the locals and destroying nature. Hello, Ramby. I'm really sorry, but I kinda have to destroy this banana hill you're standing on. Business is business. But before we continue the destruction, this video is actually sponsored by myself, seeing as I'm gonna be hosting a FORTNITE parkour speedrun competition. For those who saw my Moo Moo Meadows video, you'll know that I've been experimenting with map creating and have made this super fun parkour tower. And to incentivize you guys to give it a try, I'm gonna be hosting a speedrun competition where whoever can complete the course the fastest by the 1st of October 2025 will win themselves $100. I genuinely think this is a really fun course and is accessible to all old and new players. The timer will start when you collect your first coin and will end when you collect the last one. You can then submit that time to me and reset the timer by entering this portal and trying again. More explanation and time submission details can be found in my Discord server, link in the description. And all you need to do to participate is to input my map code shown on screen, and may the fastest runner win. Anyways, let's get back to the smashing. Also, I didn't mention this before, but outside of the necessary indestructible platforms, there's also this giant indestructible floor across the whole map so the player doesn't fall into the void, which is a little disappointing. But I'll tell you what, it made the process a billion times easier not having to worry about falling. At the 10-minute mark, I was curious how progress was going, and oh my god, we've actually done some damage. Maybe this won't take as long as I thought. Although, I was starting from the base of the hills, which meant the deeper into the map I got, the longer it would take to clear out the land. After a bit of work on the bottom, I decided to see what it would be like to start working from the top of spawn, and I managed to find my first collectible fossil that I didn't get in my regular playthrough. Surely I'll be able to get all the collectibles in the level by the end of this, right? After 20 minutes of work, I managed to clear out a lot of the starting ground level, as well as the spawn pillar, which turns out, without terrain on it, is just a long rectangle with a sort of triangle piece attached to it. Again, seeing as I was expecting this to potentially take days to complete, I was incredibly happy with the progress made in just 20 minutes. Now, one of the only things the elephant's trunk couldn't destroy were these strong metal chunks, but thankfully those aren't that common, and a quick swap to the Kong Bananza can deal with that. Once we cracked the half-an-hour mark, I was happy with the progress I was making, but was a little annoyed at all the chunks that the elephant would leave behind in the air. And seeing as the land was now destroyed, there was no easy way to get rid of these chunks. I really couldn't be asked cleaning them up now, so progress continued as normal. In the middle of the open area, there is this section with these unbreakable machines that spit out a bunch of spiky balls, which I was concerned was going to cause an issue as I broke the land around them. However, the elephant is just so OP. I didn't even really need to spend enough time here for it to be a problem, which was good. And after looking at my 40-minute mark progress, I decided it was time to do something that I'd been looking forward to ever since starting. And that would be to teleport into the village and start terrorizing the Fractones. My god, I don't know what it is, but destroying stuff in this game is so unbelievably satisfying. And I really don't think it translates across in video the way it actually does when you're playing. It's just so good. And after a good few minutes of destruction, Fractone Village was now nothing but the foundation it was laid upon. I'm sorry for destroying your shops and homes, but we've got bigger priorities to deal with. At the 54-minute mark, I managed to come across my first sub-area portal that I never found during my playthrough. And although it was tempting to go inside and collect the banana, I was too scared scared that it might reset the map and all the work I'd put in so far, despite already knowing it doesn't do that for sub areas. I don't know, I was second guessing myself and just didn't want to take the risk. I'm pretty sure the only way terrain is fixed is by manually doing it through the map or by going to a different level entirely. After an hour of inhaling, I was excited to see what the map looked like and to see how much progress there was to go. And to my surprise, a lot more progress was made than I was expecting for only being an hour deep. I was genuinely thinking this was going to take upwards of 24 to 48 hours, but no, for only an hour, I was thoroughly impressed. Although I must say, I really wasn't looking forward to the giant banana and the big mud section, which was soon approaching. I then made my way to this little area where you're gonna find the 4 hidden fractones for a banana, which was by far the most metal dense location in this level, which required the most use of the Kong transformation thus far. And I actually started finding a few more uncollected fossils, and eventually found my first unsmashed banana gem on this floating platform you need to throw terrain at to get down. This certainly is one way to 100% a level. This was actually on top of the giant banana hill, and something about this structure I was worried about was all these spike balls that spawn on top. The spawners are indestructible, and there's quite a lot of them, and I was worried that if I worked from the top down, they'd be constantly raining on me during my destruction. So I decided to leave that part mostly intact for now and just started destroying underneath it. And my god, is the mud in this section super annoying. You can't climb on it, you walk way slower through it, and overall movement just feels way more sluggish. And let me tell you, there's a lot of it. By the 1 hour 30 mark, I managed to destroy a decent chunk of the giant banana mountain and started to get a better sense of how much longer this would probably take. At this point, my bets were on 4 hours, which I was super relieved about, considering I mentally prepared for a lot longer. And then just 6 minutes later, something happened that I was super happy about. This whole time, I've been eyeing my gold counter, watching it go up with the hundreds and hundreds of gold chunks I was collecting every minute, waiting to see if the number would cap at 99,999, seeing as a lot of collectathon games cap the currencies quite early, such as Super Mario Odyssey capping you at only 9,999 coins, which I just think is super lame and unnecessary. However, I am happy to report that the gold counter can go into 6 digits, which I just think is really cool and allows me to continue seeing how much gold we have collected by the end. At the 1 hour 50 mark, I managed to find one of those timer challenges I hadn't completed yet, which allowed me to collect another new banana, and not too long after, I provided some light for this flower pot fella who also gave me a new banana. By the 2 hour mark, the giant banana mountain was basically all gone, with nothing but the top and a bit of the base remaining. And then 20 minutes later, I managed to flatten a large majority of the map, which allowed me to start destroying from the base unbreakable floor, which was much nicer, seeing as it was easier than having to terraform at different height levels, like going up and down hills all the time. And then once we hit the 2 hour 30 minute mark, we only had this big but super easy to clear out clump in the center of the map, the top remains of the banana mountain, and a bit of stuff on the walls and floor of the spawn area near the village remains. It only took 4 minutes to get rid of the final chunk in the middle, and as I was cleaning out some of the walls, I found a hidden room which I had yet to touch, which really didn't take too long to clean out. And then after finally clearing the top of the banana where the spike balls were spawning, and then using the snake and elephant to try and clear up as many of the leftover floating chunks as possible, I stopped the timer at the 3 hour mark and we were officially done. Let's just take a moment to look at how crazy this is. Whilst yes, I did leave behind quite a lot of annoying floating chunks in certain areas, but for the most part, we had completely annihilated all the destructible terrain in the hilltop layer. This was such a surreal yet incredibly cool sight to lay my eyes upon. It looked as if it was some sort of prototype map that the devs left behind in the files. But nope, this is the foundation that the map lies upon and can be completely seen in-game given enough time. I was super proud of my efforts and was unbelievably shocked at the fact that it only took 3 hours to do this much damage. Now real quick, shout out to P Jiggles on Twitter, who actually did this exact same thing and posted these images 5 hours after I finished filming this video. He claims it took him 4 hours and 15 minutes, but he's clearly done a much better job than I did as far as the cleanup of random chunks go. I couldn't imagine how annoying that cleanup would have been towards the end. Oh yeah, let's see how many collectibles we got. So it turns out we maxed on balloons from chests at only like the 1 hour 1 minute mark, and we ended on 130,356.18 gold and 1,853 hexagon coins, which means after subtracting our initial starting number, we collected 82,953.82 gold and 737 of the coins. This was actually such a fun challenge, and I just love everything about this game. I hope you all enjoyed this crazy idea for a video, and please let me know if you're enjoying the non-Pokemon content, because I'd love to do more, especially with Switch 2 just releasing and all the games that's going to be coming out soon. Anyways, don't forget to participate in my FORTNITE speedrun competition, and I thank you all so much for making it this far, and thank you all so much for watching.